Welcome back, Bills fans, for another edition of the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. I'm Ryan Thomas. Of course, the subject matter, you guys see the video, you guys know the talking points, you guys get amped up for any Buffalo Bills content. I'm a part of a lot of awesome Buffalo Bills Facebook groups. I get to interact with a lot of members of Bills Mafia from all throughout the U.S., all throughout the world. Bills Mafia is worldwide as a fan base. And I am really excited to dive into this topic because I think this is one that we're only going to hear more of as the season wears on, and it is the simple number one seed. Just the concept of the number one seed in the Buffalo Bills and whether we can get that number one seed. That's something that I know a lot of Bills fans are curious about, something that Bills fans have talked to me about in previous, discussions on Facebook and Twitter and everything like that. And I want to hear your thoughts as things stand right now. We'll go through, the AFC playoff picture and look at team to team within the conference. How do I see the conference shaking out as the season wears on? So this is the Buffalo Bills and the number one seed. That is the name of this podcast episode from yours truly, the Thomas Take Sports Podcast, live right now on Facebook and YouTube. You guys can tune into this on audio as well on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, as well as Google Podcasts. And let's take a look at this AFC picture, because right now I think this is one that we definitely have to dive into, because most Bills fans, myself included, thought that at one point the one seed was in play for the Buffalo Bills, but not anymore, not as of right now. As the AFC shakes out, it has shaked out in ways that I least expected. I thought the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, would be one of the best teams, not only in the AFC, but in the NFL. No, they are not, as it stands right now. But the beauty of the National Football League season is that it's such a long season. So many things can happen. And this is a season in which that I think, as I adjust my mic here, this is a season in which we've seen a lot of teams look really good one week and look really terrible the next week. Take, for example, the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns whoop on the Cincinnati Bengals. The next week, they lose badly to the New England Patriots. And how about those New England Patriots? I didn't anticipate the Patriots being a team that, we'd really have any worries about the Patriots at all as a team this year. And yet here we are. The Patriots are game and a half or half a game outside of first in the AFC East, with Buffalo leading the AFC East. And right now, I have to say that when I look at the AFC and the title picture that is the AFC in just total, as far as the AFC conference, the one seed is up for grabs. The one seed is there for the taking. Whether or not Buffalo can go on a run here and inch closer to it remains to be seen. But truthfully, when I look at this conference in comparison to the NFC is just a better conference. The NFC has better teams. The NFC has more clear-cut contenders than that of the AFC. The worst teams in the National Football League reside in the AFC. And as it stands right now, Tennessee is 8-2, leading the AFC without Derrick Henry. Buffalo is in the second seed. Baltimore is in the second seed. They both share 6-3 records. Kansas City is now 6-4. Pittsburgh 5-3-1. That tie between Pittsburgh and Detroit is going to throw things for a little bit of a loop. And then, of course, you have the Patriots and the Chargers. Patriots 6-4, Chargers 5-4, Bengals 5-4, Raiders 5-4, Colts 5-5, Cleveland 5-5, Denver 5-5. So you have a lot of teams in the contention of that seventh seed, trying to get that seventh, playoff picture spot. And I look at this playoff picture and I say to myself, this is a 14-team playoff, 7 teams making the postseason from each conference. And as it stands right now, Buffalo would then play the LA Chargers in the first round of the playoffs. We got a long way to go between now and the playoffs, but my point of this is Buffalo also has crucial games coming up as to, what will dictate this AFC title picture. One of those is this upcoming week facing off against an AFC opponent in the Indianapolis Colts. The next week we head to New Orleans for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving night we'll be playing football. Then we have 2 games within the division against the Patriots, 1 game within the division against the New York Jets, and a very tough game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as well as a battle against Carolina and a battle against the Falcons. The Falcons I'm not too worried about. Panthers, to be honest, I'm not too worried about. But the Colts and the Patriots, those are 2 teams that, those could very well be losses. At 5-3, this is not the record that I thought the Bills would have through 8 games of play. I thought 6-2, 7-1, maybe even undefeated at 8-0. 5-3 is not where we expect it to be. And I think right now, as it stands, when I look at the Tennessee Titans, I think looking at this AFC playoff picture as we move to the playoff picture, breaking down the AFC playoff picture as of now, as I like to say, the Tennessee Titans have been very solid up front. They have a very solid front 7. They are very well coached on the defensive side of the ball. Mike Vrabel, it's no secret, he's a defensive-minded coach, former linebacker in his own right, pretty damn good linebacker in his own right as well. But eventually the loss of Derrick Henry, I would imagine, is going to bite the Tennessee Titans in the butt at some point. It has to. Derrick Henry is one of the best players in the NFL. I believe he's the best player at his position. As a running back in the National Football League, very few are better than Derrick Henry, if any at all. Eventually, that injury to Derrick Henry and the question mark as to whether or not he will come back, I think is going to hurt this Tennessee Titans football team at some point. They plan a very soft schedule these last few weeks. Ryan Tannehill has been playing some soft defenses, and Ryan Tannehill is going to go up against some very soft defenses here in the coming weeks. Will that continue to carry over? Tennessee playing Texans this week. The Texans are the worst team in the NFL. They're 1-8. Baltimore this week, they're falling down. They just lost to the Miami Dolphins. They're still first in the AFC North, but any team in that division, any team within the AFC North could win that division. With the Baltimore Ravens facing the Bears next, who the hell knows what version or which version of the Baltimore Ravens that we're going to get. The Kansas City Chiefs, they're rising upward. They're first in the AFC West. That division is up for grabs, in my opinion. And the Raiders have had a tumultuous year off the field. I think that those distractions are starting to get to them. I think those distractions, rightfully so. How could they not get to a team eventually, right? Kansas City, though, is getting healthier. Kansas City is getting Clyde Edwards-Helaire back. They need to establish a run game here in the coming weeks. We're getting into the dog days of the season, November, December. The weather is only going to get worse from here on out. And Kansas City needs to have some sort of a run game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire represents that. And we saw what he did as a rookie last season. He was a pretty damn good running back. The team that really stands out to me is, who the hell are they? Is the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers, I'm very curious to see what happens with Big Ben as this season wears on, because I think this very well could be Big Ben's last season in the National Football League. He's nowhere near as mobile as he once was. He doesn't have the quick decision-making skills that he once had, and he doesn't have the arm that he once had. Well, I think this being his final year, obviously he's on the COVID reserve list. He missed last week. Mason Rudolph was playing at the quarterback position for the Steelers. They tied with Detroit, which is god-awful that they tied against Detroit. They should have whooped on Detroit. But they tied against Detroit. And now, as I said, that AFC North, Cleveland was a team that I was really high on going into this season. And, Baker Mayfield is as banged up as he's ever been. Those are his words, not mine. Nick Chubb, he had COVID. Kareem Hunt, he had COVID. The Browns defense looks like they are one of the worst in the NFL when going into this season. We anticipated they'd be one of the best. New England just put up 45 points on Cleveland's defense. So I think the Bengals are a team to watch too. Are they a contender? No, but are they better than what most people thought? Yes. And if Pittsburgh or Baltimore have one bad injury here, one bad injury there, Cincinnati could just bump themselves up just based on a solid streak of games within their schedule. These teams are playing the same teams, of course, being that they play in the same division. The divisional matchups between the Steelers, the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, Ravens will really dictate who makes the playoffs out of that division coming up. I think Cleveland is on the outside looking into that division. Can't believe I'm saying that, but it's just fact. A team that is rising up, of course, that I mentioned is the New England Patriots. And Mac Jones is for real. Mac Jones is a quarterback that I really liked coming out of Bama. He was somebody that I hoped and prayed would not be drafted by the Patriots, and of course he was. He's a solid fit in that Josh McDaniels offense. He's not the most athletic quarterback, but he doesn't have to be because he has the quick decision-making, the pinpoint accuracy, and he's got a hell of an arm as well. Mac Jones is probably the best rookie quarterback coming out of this class as far as how he has translated to the NFL. You look at Trevor Lawrence, very, very slow in terms of his progression in the National Football League, and it could very well have to do with the team that drafted him, of course. Jacksonville being the worst team in the league last year and one of the worst teams in the league this year, but when they played Buffalo, it was good enough. Still shocked we lost that game, but anyways, Mac Jones is the best, rookie quarterback that we've seen this season. And then you go to the Chargers, the number 7 seed right now. They're falling downward. They've plateaued, I think, as a team. But down the stretch here, if anybody can just turn it on all of a sudden, it would be Justin Herbert. I'm a big believer in Justin Herbert. He's a phenomenal, fantastic phenom of a quarterback. And the LA Chargers defense, one week they could look like world beaters. The next week they could look a little bit lackluster. I expect the Chargers against the Steelers this week to be a really good game and a close game. And a game between two teams, the Steelers, the 5th seed right now, the Chargers, the 7th seed right now in the AFC, playoff picture. Big implications. Every game counts in that AFC North as well as that AFC West, as one of the two teams, whether it's the Chiefs or the Chargers, as well as the Raiders, who are still in the hunt, look to kind of make a impact within that division and make the playoffs. It's very tough looking at Buffalo's remaining schedule and knocking off, okay, we're going to beat this team, we're going to beat this team. Looking at the schedule, I think the Colts are a tough matchup. I know Carson Wentz has been very inconsistent, but the Colts defense is pretty good. Jonathan Taylor is one of the best running backs in the league. Carson Wentz doesn't really have to do a whole lot in order for the Colts to win these games. Jonathan Taylor doing what he does best, pounding it in between the tackles. The defense showing up in terms of front four pressure and forcing turnovers, essentially, as they have the last couple years with Frank Reich as their head coach. The Colts defense has been fantastic. But I think Buffalo will win that one. You go to the Saints on Thanksgiving. The Saints, they don't have a quarterback. Trevor Siemian is a backup for a reason. Jameis Winston, the injury to Jameis Winston is severely going to hurt the Saints' playoff chances. You wonder maybe why they didn't go after a Cam Newton. You wonder why they haven't really gone after anyone at that position, because Taysom Hill is not the guy. He's not it. I think they're going to find that out again if they try to go down that road once more. I've read articles that, Phillip Rivers could very well be in the discussion to come back and unretire and make his comeback into the league with the Saints. I'd be shocked if that happened, but if it's out there, where there's smoke, there's fire. Hosting the Patriots at home the next week, I'm going to go with the Bills winning that one. Tampa Bay, that's a toss-up. Carolina, we should win that one. Patriots away, I think that's going to be a tougher game. And the Falcons, I think we're going to win that one, and the Jets, we're going to win that one. So really, I only see 2 more losses from here on out for the Buffalo Bills. That would give them an 11-6 record. Is 11-6 good enough to make it to the playoffs with the number 1 seed? I don't think it is. And being that the Titans are 8-2, Tennessee has to drop 4 games in order for Buffalo to get that 1 seed. I think Tennessee is the toughest test towards Buffalo getting that 1 seed, as well, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs. If they get hot, it's going to be even tougher for Buffalo to get that 1 seed. The Jacksonville loss really hurts this discussion. It changed this discussion as to whether or not the Buffalo Bills can get that 1 seed. There you have it. That is a little bit of my AFC playoff picture discussion. Ryan Thomas on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in for tonight's edition of the show. And any other questions you guys have on Buffalo Bills, you can tweet them at Ryan Thomas Take. DM me on Instagram at Ryan Thomas Take. Let's go Buffalo.